Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this webinar on biophilic design by Flanders DC. In our increasingly urbanized and technology-driven world, the concept of biophilic design is really rapidly emerging as a compelling and transformative design discipline. Now, the impact of the built environment on human well-being, on sustainability, our mental health is really profound. Biophilic design seeks to bridge the gap between the modern urban landscape and technology-filled interiors on the one hand, and our inherent connection to nature on the other. As people yearn for a deeper connection with the natural world and a more sustainable way of living, biophilic design stands at the forefront of innovative and environmentally conscious solutions. Now, this all sounds very exciting, but how can you, as a designer, get started with biophilic design? What are the benefits of biophilic design, and how can you convince your clients of its added value? To answer these questions, Flanders DC invited two international speakers. The first one is Nuria Muñoz. She is a designer and educator. She works from Valencia in Spain, and she is the founder of Habitarmonia and Habitarmonia Academy. Nuria is really on a mission to improve the quality of life by creating healthier environments through biophilic design. So very happy to have her as a first speaker. I'm also very happy and proud to announce our second speaker, who is Dror Benchitrit, who is the founder and the principal of Studio Dror and Supernature Labs. He has 20 years of award-winning experience in product design, interiors, architecture. He's a visionary, he's a futurist. And with Supernature Labs, he created a new organization focused on rethinking our future urban growth, tackling global challenges such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and urbanization. And last July, Dror was a very appreciated guest at the Love Tomorrow conference at Tomorrowland. So happy to have him, thrilled to have him here as well. So now I will give the floor to Nuria. Nuria, floor is yours.
Hello, thank you, Pascal. So I want to thank you for joining me today to explore the captivating world of biophilic design. This journey promises to be a transformative one as we delve into the profound potential this design philosophy holds for our environments and perspectives. I want to start by sharing a bit about myself. I am an interior designer, an educator, and an expert, and I have a design studio, an award design studio, and I also work as a consultant. I recently founded Habitarmonia Ecosystem, the global community advancing well-being-driven design in the living spaces. But okay, let's dive now into this journey. We will be dividing this presentation of mine into three key parts. Firstly, we'll explore the fundamental concepts of what biophilia and biophilic design are, and we'll dive into the essence of this design philosophy. Next, we'll examine the added value that biophilic design brings to our lives and environments. You'll discover why this approach is so crucial in today's world. And finally, we'll discuss how you can convince your clients to embrace biophilic design. I'll provide you with practical strategies for effectively introducing this philosophy into your projects. So let's get started with our first topic. I'd like to begin in this section with a thought-provoking quote. Deviation of nature is deviation of happiness. This quote encapsulates the essence of our journey today as we explore how biophilic design can have a profound impact on our well-being and surroundings. We spend more than 90% of our time indoors. Yes. Think about that for a moment. We live in an age where our lives are largely confined within our four walls. While this shift has brought many conveniences, it has also distanced us from the natural world. Our ancestors spent much of their time outdoors, intimately connected to nature, but now our modern lifestyles often relegate us to indoor environments. This shift raises a critical question. How can we bring the benefits of the natural world back into our indoor spaces? Urbanization is on the rise. By 2050, 66% of the developed world will be urbanized, yes, which means more of us are becoming increasingly distant from nature. This shift in lifestyle has consequences. For instance, in the United Kingdom, 12.8 million working days were lost due to stress. And the European Commission estimated the cost of work-related stress and depression in the EU at 617 billion euros per year. So, stress is a significant concern in our modern lives, and it comes at a substantial cost. The World Health Organization has even called stress the health epidemic of the 21st century, imposing considerable costs of employers and increasing the need for individuals to focus on their physical and mental health. Our world also faces significant challenges, and it's important to recognize that the built environment plays a crucial role in addressing them. First, climate change is a global concern. We are committed to keeping the global temperature increase below 2 degrees Celsius, as agreed upon the Paris Agreement. This commitment has profound implications for the way we design and construct our buildings. Secondly, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought to light the concept of cabin fever. We become acutely aware of impact that buildings have on our physical, mental, and emotional states. This newfound awareness underscores the importance of our surroundings in promoting health and well-being. So, where does nature come into this picture? How can it play a valuable role in addressing these challenges? Let's explore these questions as we delve deeper into the world of biophilic design. Now that we've laid the foundation for our exploration, let's dive into the heart of our discussion, the biophilia hypothesis. What exactly is biophilia? The term biophilia is a combination of two Greek words, bios, meaning life, and philia, meaning love. Essentially, it translates for love for life. This concept has been discussed for decades and has its deep roots in our understanding of our connection with the natural world. To give you a bit of history, the biophilia hypothesis was introduced by the renowned psychologist Erich Fromm in 1964 already. Then in 1984, another influential figure, Edward or Wilson, delved into the biophilia hypothesis in this book, Biophilia. Wilson's work has greatly expanded our understanding of our innate connection to the world. Wilson's pioneering work emphasizes our connection to the natural world and laid the foundation for a concept that would later be known as biophilic design. In 1993, Edward Wilson, along with Stephen Keller, further elaborated on the biophilia hypothesis in their book. This collection of essays provides a comprehensive exploration of this idea. This expanded view of biophilia underscores its significance in shaping not only our physical well-being, but also our mental, emotional, and spiritual dimensions, ultimately influencing the way we design and interact with the environment in which we live and work. So biophilia is not just a modern concept. It's deeply rooted in our evolutionary history. This trait was forged in the African savanna and the dawn of humanity. Even today, it continues to shape our preferences for certain environments and our intimate relationship with nature. In essence, biophilia is more than just a contemporary idea. It's an evolutionary adaptation that has been with us since the beginning of our species. We've just explored the pioneering work of A.O. Wilson and the profound concept of biophilia. Now, let's take a step back and reflect on what it truly means to have a human connection to nature and what the biophilia hypothesis is all about. What deeply resonates with me about biophilic design is that it serves as a powerful reminder that we are nature. In all its diversity, range of expression, beauty, and fascination, we are part of this vast biological community on Earth. Some of us may intuitively feel this connection, while others, particularly as adults, may have lost touch with this. Biophilia is an invitation to come back and reconnect, to reclaim that connection. So let's delve into the connection between human nature and the biophilic perspective. Consider this radial diagram of the tree of life, it's called. At its center lies the birth of our planet, approximately 4 billion years ago. It illustrates the incredible speciation that has occurred since then. We, the human species, are represented here at the other end of the tree, having appeared on the scene about 200,000 years ago. What's really essential to grasp here is that our species emerged within the context of an already highly complex and interconnected biosphere. We are not separate from this intricate web of life. We are an integral part of it, having evolved out of it. This interconnectedness with the natural world is the heart of the biophilia hypothesis and biophilic design. So the biophilia hypothesis suggests that our natural affinity for nature is deeply rooted in our evolution. It's like we're wired to connect with the natural world, similar to how early humans thrived in environments like savannas. We still feel at home in nature. This connection goes beyond feeling. It's biological. Our circadian rhythm responds to nature's daily cycles, and we even prefer colors associated with thriving environments. Now, with these foundation ideas in mind, let's explore two key theories that help us understand the benefits of biophilic design. The first one is the attention restoration theory, and it reveals how nature restores our focus and well-being. And the second theory is the stress reduction theory, and it explains how nature activates our rest and digest mode, promoting relaxation and balance compared to the human stressors that often trigger the fight or flight response. So biophilic design is more complex and richer than the mere application of vegetation in buildings. It broadens the variety through encompassing different types of nature from physical, sensory, metaphorical, morphological, and material to spiritual. So now that we have explored the intricacies of the human-nature connection, let's delve into the heart of biophilic design. Biophilic design isn't just about adding a few potted plants here and there. It's a comprehensive philosophy that aims to replicate the feelings and connections we experience in nature. It goes really beyond simply introducing a plant. At its core, biophilic design is the practice of emulating our experience of the natural world within the built environment. It encompasses principles, elements, and attributes that guide us in creating spaces that foster this essential connection. So in other words, it's about bringing the essence of nature indoors, whether it's the play of natural light, the soothing sound of the flowing water, the use of organic materials, or the incorporation of natural textures. These design choices aim to evoke the same sense of calm, vitality, and wonder that we experience when surrounded by the great outdoors. So in the following slides, we will dig into the benefits of this transformative philosophy to see just how impactful it can be. Biophilic design is, as I said, more than just good design. It's a commitment to nurturing our connection with nature and reaping the myriad rewards it offers. So, as we dig deeper into the benefits of biophilic design, let's explore some of the profound ways it positively impacts our lives. It enhances social connections. It has biophilic elements in healthcare, also in healthcare settings, have been linked to faster recovery times, reduced pain, perception, and shorter hospital stays, for example. It also strengthens resilience. The exposure to nature in our daily environments enhances our resilience, helping us cope with the life's challenges and stressors. It also has emotional restoration. Biophilic spaces provide, for example, emotional restoration, allowing us to recharge and regain mental clarity. And now that we have uncovered the deep-seated benefits of biophilic design, let's explore its diverse applications. We can apply biophilic design in all spaces. For example, in residential spaces, you can integrate natural elements into your home, such as indoor gardens, natural light, and biophilic materials to create a calming and rejuvenating environment. We can do also that in workplaces, and you can enhance productivity and employee well-being by incorporating biophilic design elements. Also, in healthcare facilities, we can create healing environments with biophilic design. We can also include it in education, because biophilic classrooms can improve students' focus and learning outcomes while fostering a sense of connection to the natural world. In urban planning, we can involve designing cities and communities that prioritize green spaces, parks, and natural corridors, promoting overall health and longevity. The hospitality industry can offer guests a more immersive and relaxing experience by incorporating biophilic design. We can also include biophilic design in retail stores, and they can benefit from it by creating welcoming and calming atmospheres that encourage customers to linger and shop. Also in public spaces, including parks, transportation hubs, and public buildings, they can be integrated. So this is not just a merely design choice. It's a commitment to nurturing a connection with nature and reaping the myriad rewards it offers. As we embark now on our journey through the realm of biophilia and biophilic design, it's essential to grasp the multitude of benefits that spring from our intrinsic connection to nature. These benefits ripple across various dimensions of our well-being, creating the tapestry of positive outcomes. We have, for example, psychological benefits, while our mental and emotional health dance in the embrace of nature, cognitive benefits, physiological benefits, disease exposure and regulation, social benefits, aesthetic, cultural, recreational, and spiritual benefits, and so on and so on. The benefits are enormous, and we could be talking about it a whole day over here. And I'm not going to dig into that, but if you have any questions later on, I will be more than glad to answer to those questions. So, as we delve deeper into the universe of biophilic design, remember one thing: it's far more than a mere aesthetic choice. It's a portal to unlock the profound and far-reaching benefits that our connection with nature has to offer. And these benefits encompass, as I said, psychological, cognitive, physiological, disease exposure and regulation, social, aesthetic, cultural, recreational, spiritual, tangible materials, and increased resilience based of our well-being. So biophilic design becomes the bridge between our urban lives and the natural world, leading to a brighter and more harmonious existence. So, ladies and gentlemen, our journey or discovery through the realm of biophilic design continues here. Now, we are going to explore the vital domain of health benefits, where we unearth a treasure trove of advantages bestowed by our deep-rooted connection with nature. You can see here several benefits. We're not going to, again, go to dive into all these benefits. We can have a copy of this great presentation later on, and you can see all these benefits later on. It's amazing, all the benefits that we can follow on biophilic design. And this is a little example of everything that it can do for our health and our well-being. Let me go to this one. Might be very interesting for you. It has economical benefits. Like a lullaby from nature, it improves sleep. Sorry, I went to the wrong one. I'm sorry about that. Sorry. Yes. So our voyage through the world of biophilic design now leads us into the territory of environmental stewardship. Here, we discover how biophilic design embodies a commitment not only to human well-being, but also to the well-being of our planet. It reduces resource consumption, biodiversity support, climate resilience, and so on and so on. This is a myriad of benefits. And now, as our journey through the walls of biophilic design draws to a close, I want to go deeper here. We are going to explore the art of convincing your clients to embrace this transformative philosophy. In your discussions with clients, consider some of these strategies. Start, for example, by emphasizing the potential for enhanced productivity, reduced absenteeism, and improved employee retention. These outcomes directly translate into financial gains for businesses, especially in the context of workspaces. Utilize key performance indicators to underscore these advantages. Additionally, sharing various case studies where you can conclusively prove the outcomes of biophilic design is a persuasive tactic. This is something that we are going to learn from Dor. I'm sure about it. He has amazing projects. These real-world examples serve as compelling evidence of the economic advantages it offers. To effectively communicate these benefits to clients, consider using data and case studies to make a compelling business case. Highlight the alignment of biophilic design with sustainability goals, and as it showcases the long-term financial advantages and commitment to environmental responsibility. Moreover, customizing design solutions that align with client preferences can make the idea more appealing and relevant to the unique needs and aspirations. In this way, you can present a compelling argument for integrating biophilic design into your projects, demonstrating that it's not just a design choice, but a strategic decision that offers both short-term and long-term benefits. So thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I'm more than glad now to give the microphone to my colleague, Dror, and thank you so much. And the floor is yours now, Dror.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Pascal and Nuria. It's great to follow your presentation. I learned a lot, even though it's a topic that I've been working on for many years. Deviations of nature is deviations of happiness. I love that quote. Thank you. Thank you for that. I would like to experiment today with you. Since I've been giving a half an hour, I thought I'm going to give you this presentation twice. Once with no slides and once with slides, for the purpose of actually provoking a different way to imagine what I want to convey today. We all know that sometimes books have much greater, profound experience than movies, because we are able to envision scenes and scenarios that the movie capture in a different way. So let me experiment and let's see what's happening. First, we shape the environment, and the environment shapes us. We've heard this in all kinds of contexts, right? It's just unbelievable to think that we create sometimes environments that are so harsh, so dangerous, so unpleasant for human experiences that it changes how we behave. We live in all kinds of cities. In fact, 50% of the world population today lives in cities. And as Nuria mentioned, those percentages are growing exponentially. Most of those cities that we live today are based on a grid system, right? Basically, Cartesian grid system that makes us all live in boxes. And when we think about those climate-controlled boxes and realize that essentially we are isolating ourselves. We're isolating ourselves from nature. We are isolating ourselves from each other. And that on its own have a huge, profound impact on our behavior and our experiences. So we don't see nature. We are not part of nature, and we are simply uprooted ourselves from that experience which we used to be connected to for, generations and generations. To be united with all living things is extremely essential for us. And if cities are continuing to grow and more people are going to live in cities, how can we change that? How can we basically make sure that we think differently about the cities and the city expansion that we're going to build over the next couple of decades? What if we can today measure experiences that are based on different parameters that made us design cities as we've designed them today? What if we can measure and design for empathy, for love, for trust, for connection, for a sense of belonging? And I have to tell you that we can. We simply can. Cities are great. We love cities. Cities provide amazing things for us, such as serendipities and professional opportunities and cultures and other incredible things that are basically as a result of us living close to other people. But they're not really been designed for those attributions of loves and empathy and trust and compassion. So what if we can change that? What if we can change that by simply thinking differently about the geometry, the overall geometry in which our cities are planned by, the way that land is being subdivided? And one of the things that was fascinating for me over the last 5 years, since we started working on the supernature approach, which now we call the approach bioplanning, which is essentially an approach that is based on ecology and based on the fact that everything that is living, everything in the natural world is organized in cell formation. Think about it. We don't see the same kind of boxes that we are designing in nature. We see hexagons, we see Voronoi patterns, and we see pretty much cell formation under the microscope, under the telescope, and everything in between. Why is this so important? We are about to double the land coverage of cities over the next 20 to 25 years. That basically means that the 3% that cities are occupying today, we are going to double that and have 6% of our entire world used as city. That's basically home for 4 additional billion people in the next 30 years. In Africa alone, we're talking about an increase from 1.4 billion people to 2.5 billion people in the next 30 years. So that expansion does not happen in Europe, does not happen so much in the US, but in the developing world, it does. China, India, Indonesia, Brazil, Mexico, the entire continent of Africa, and the Middle East. So what if there is a better way for us to organize ourselves as civilizations rather than the traditional Cartesian grid that we're using for cities, or the cul-de-sac type approach that we're using for suburbia type environments all over the world? What if those compositions are actually cheaper to build, faster to build, creates an improvements for human well-being, human health, social connectivity, biodiversity, and in general helps reduce climate change? One of the things that have been fascinating for me is actually on an area that is more difficult for designers to address, which is the economic benefits. It was very clear to us from the beginning that if we're not going to present a compelling economic case for our approach, nobody's going to adapt it, right? If you're basically saying, yeah, it's more beneficial, but it costs a lot more to build and it's a lot slower to build, developers are not going to pay attention. So over the last few months, we've started working with the world's largest construction company to actually validate just that. And the proofs that are coming back from those engineers and those construction experts are absolutely blowing our mind. We are actually able to create environments that are actually built faster and cheaper than the existing environment. And I will reserve that part to when I'm sharing the slides so you can see what I'm talking about. But imagine this. We all strive to live in harmony. We strive to live in harmony with ourselves, we strive to live in harmony with each other, and we strive to live in harmony with the natural world. We call it ecological harmony, and that's what we're pushing for. We actually hope to change the world design ambition from sustainability to ecological harmony. Because when we're thinking about much more than sustainability, when we're thinking about all living things, we put ourselves in the context of nature, and now we become a part of nature. So if that's the case, let's look at how nature thrives, right? What are the examples in which nature thrives? And when we start to analyze those conditions and those moments, we realize that all of them are essentially aggregations of cells. So when we talk about cell formations, and we realize that if we organize the built environment in such a way that is also in terms of massing and massing orientation, correspond to the sun path, right? Average yearly sun path, winter sun path, summer sun path have critical impact on the environment and how we live, right? Of course, if there is a giant building in front of me that blocks the air and blocks the view, I'm suffering from it, right? So what if instead of seeing walls in front of my windows, or even worse than that, sometimes windows of other people, what if instead the environment that I see out of the window is shaped like hills, shaped like vegetated environment, and now the entire experience of light and air, not just fused with nature, which we love, but also organized in such a way that it softened the entire topography and the harshness of light and shadow in a very soft and natural way. So this is a call to action. This is not something that Supernature is trying to do alone. Once we realize that bioplanning is actually a design discipline, a design approach that actually merges ecology and urbanism in a whole different way that we could not have done prior to the technological innovations over the last few years, simply because we always design, Cartesianly, right? Before the XYZ softwares of two-dimensional software, we drafted everything by hand, right? With rulers and pencils. But now we have softwares that are so complex and so three-dimensional, and manufacturing capabilities that are basically allow us to analyze a large amount of data and helps us to design like nature does. The goal, of course, is not faster and cheaper. That's a necessity. The goal is to change our behavior. The goal is to create communities that thrives. The goal is to actually create a sense of belonging a sense of trust, a sense of connection with other people. That's the purpose. That's what we're trying to do. And we believe that this can change so many things and have such a ripple effect. If we're just looking at what's happening in the world in an accelerating rate, so much anger, so much hate, so much violence, how can design, how can our environment makes us more empathetic, more connected to each other in a meaningful way, care for each other in a meaningful way? So, when I think about that, I want to encourage not just the talent pool, right? The talent pool that we are talking to understand this very easily. But we are not alone in shaping the future of the built environment. We have to convince governments, we have to convince municipalities, we have to convince construction companies, and we have to convince developers. Each one of them have different motivations, different understanding, different connections to visions that have never been explored. So how do we get there? And this has been something that we've been working on for a few years, right? Like we've worked on bioplanning as a design approach, and then we said, okay, it's great, but how do we implement this? And this, I have to say, has been a huge struggle for us, because if we think about the design world in terms of an industry and the way that it's operates, we are essentially service providers, right? When you think about what it means to be a service provider, there's a client, he have a brief, we need to design for that brief, and that's how the structure works. The developer doesn't like what you've done. Yes, you can argue, you can be upset, you can try to use different words, you can try to present with different slides, but hey, they make the decisions at the end of the day. So one of the things that we realize is that we all need to explore. We all need to experiment, right? When we think of design, we are essentially constantly experimenting with different ways. And in a way, the way for us to experiment can happen with governmental funds that can be used for deployment of test projects, studies that universities can do, more simulations that can be done, more modeling, more twin reality comparisons, feasibility studies, and so forth. So for us, this is really a call to action from every sector, not just designers, not just creative like us, which I think that it's our responsibility, because we are the one that has been tasked to envision differently the built environment. And but it's also the responsibilities of anybody else that is contributing to the future of the built environment, as I mentioned. So if you allow me, I would like to now share the screen and walk you through the same logic. I'll probably use different words, but just to give some visual context to what I've been talking about. So Supernature Labs is the company that we founded 5 years ago, and the platform in which we're using. Essentially, the goal is to push towards the future of ecological harmony. This is an introduction to bioplanning. As I mentioned, we are doubling the land coverage of cities. So what you see on the left is basically a collage of some of the most famous cities around the world today. And what you see on the right is basically a collage of what we're hoping the future, the second half of the built environment can potentially looks like. So those are the cities that we're living in, right? When you look at those cities, it's very clear, right? It's very clear to realize that we forgot something. We forgot that we are part of nature. We forgot that we need to be part of the natural world. And those environments are not representing that today. More so, we've talked about isolation, right? Climate controlled spaces that we put ourselves in, which are essentially separating us from each other, from the natural world, and also causing tremendously other issues like massive increases in suicide rate, right? Massive amount of loneliness that we see in all cities. And when we look at the natural worlds and the benefits of the natural worlds, it is clear that we are missing those experiences in our day-to-day life, right? We can go to Central Park, take the train, get there, but most of us simply not doing it every single day, right? So harmony. So, when we are thinking about those experiences, doubling the built environment potentially in our lifetime, that's just so freaking hard to comprehend. The expansion of land is just insane in terms of speed, right? And just the way that we treat each other, just the way that we are behaving can change with geometry, right? When we say the round table discussion or circles of love or circles of support, right? Why do we use those forms? Because we can face each other, because we can treat each other with equality. And it's quite different than how we organize ourselves. And that's just geometry. I'm not even talking about, different use of material, more biophilic material, which of course we want to get there. We want to build just with regenerative materials, but I'm isolating this concept right now just to talk about a shift in geometry, again, for the purpose of connecting to ourselves, to each other, and to the natural world. So if we're looking at these geometries, right, they repeat absolutely everywhere. Every living thing is organized in self-formation. So why can we organize ourselves as well in those types of self-formation? And that was really the question that we asked ourselves 5 years ago when we started this effort. And then we realized, wait a second, a typical built environment basically means that we have between 50 to 60% building coverage, building area that is coverage, and most of the rest is roads and sidewalks. So something got to give, right? Something got to change in order for us to have more nature. And of course, if we are able to reduce the amount of road and road infrastructure and maintain the amount of built area, we can increase drastically the amount of natural area within each one of those communities. So those are the numbers that we're looking in various projects that we are working on right now, whether it's low density, high density, or mid density, and of course in various climates and various conditions in various parts of the world. And self-formation change, I'll touch on that. I mentioned the optimizations of massing to sun path, which makes total sense. We want to let the sun penetrate into the environment. So the two lower points are the two average yearly sun path. And then the high points are actually corresponding to the latitude in which we are on the planet. Not to get too technical on this call, energy consumption, in fact, gets reduced exponentially because of this logic. Simply because of the orientation of more than 4 points, we can save approximately 40% in heating and cooling, which represent the majority of our expenditure in terms of energy use. So we are talking about cities that really feels like hill formation, that really feel very sensitive to a terrain and not, walls and windows in front of our face. Construction speed, I mentioned the economic saving. I was talking about the fact that we're reducing roads and road infrastructure, which helps with, cost, but also the fact that I have always central deployment for my construction reduces construction speed drastically. Think about it in a similar way to cooking in a round kitchen, where you don't need to walk to the fridge and walk back to the stove and walk back to the fridge, and all of that waste a lot of time. In terms of mobility, people always say, but wait a second, how can it be what can be better than a straight line, right? A straight line is the most efficient. Yes, a straight line is the most efficient if you're not interrupting it, if you're not cutting it every block with traffic light. Here, traffic actually moves faster and smoother. Why? Because we don't have four ways intersection like this that have 16 collision points. We basically only have 3 collision points. So you can flow through those intersections much safer and much easier. And sorry, I'm missing a slide here. Oh, here it is. You can see in aggregation the enormous amount of reduction of conflict spaces. So you're talking about safer environment, less ambulances driving around and, people getting hurt. And of course, you get to work a lot more pleasant and a lot more calmer because you didn't go to those conflict intersection in every block. I forgot to mention walkability, right? We want to live in an environment that we can walk from places to places. Well, bioplanning is the very first urban planning strategy that allows you to walk or run between those cells in a very interconnected neuron-like network of paths. So you can actually go for a run and not see any car for the entire duration of your experience. It is just, fascinating for us to constantly add more and more advantages to this logic. When we're talking about one of the biggest problems that we're seeing today with climate change, it's flood, right? We have no ability to capture the rainwater in the cities that we've created because we have, no place for soil to absorb. But when we have 25% of our environment with soil and trees, we can capture those waters. When we're talking about noise pollution, right? When we have so much trees at the center of our communities, they block the noise. Trees invites birds. Birds mask the noise. So when we look at those comparisons, this is, by the way, one of the things that we are working on recently that I myself, working on this for the last 5 years, was shocked to see the designers come back and say the same amount of houses exist on the left side and on the right side. Not just the same amount of houses, the same sizes of houses with the same size plots to those houses. By just reducing the amounts of road and road infrastructure, look at how much great green space you get in the center of each one of those communities. So, when you look at those types of city expansions and you realize, that they almost look like, the existing cities are almost looking like cancer on the planet compared to, those environments. So we are mostly working on future cities and city expansion. Sometimes we have projects that are basically inside of existing cities. This is 20 acres of land with 4 supercells at the center of it. And when we're talking about bioplanning as a new urban strategy to accelerate the future of regenerative civilization, that's the goal, right? That's the goal, to grow cities like nature does and plan them like nature does. So actually design like nature, design with nature for the benefit of all life. We've been working on all kinds of internal tools that are helping us understand the various conditions of the land, helping us to understand topography and how the topography changes the cell shapes, how the culture evolved. But one of the things that is important to mention, we are never doing this alone. If we're working in India, we are working with local Indian designers that we teach and educate this logic so they can do it themselves because they understand the culture, they understand, things that we simply can just inspire and hope to connect. So with new geometry comes new possibilities, and we really look at it as a whole new life-centric logic to urban planning. Supercells, in fact, are our typology, a replacement to what we call the super blocks or the blocks. And the idea and the goal is, of course, to evolve towards modularity, towards biophilic and affordable housing solutions. And all of those solutions that we are working with right now with various partners around the world, we are now integrating into what we're calling the bioplanning tool, which is essentially going to be a platform to create productized offering for the industry. Just to touch on a couple more points, sorry, I'm repeating a few things. We're going to release in the beginning of the new year this book, which is called Bioplanning, a New Design Discipline, that we've collaborated with some of the world's most profound subject matter experts in various areas, from energy to transportation to public spaces, and so forth. And really the goal, as I mentioned earlier, is to change the design ambition from sustainability to ecological harmony and really create a whole different experience for the second half of urbanism that we're building in the next couple of decades. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dror. That was really inspiring. And thank you, Nuria, as well. Maybe, Nuria, you could join us also. We did get a couple of questions in the Q&A. We still have some time for that. And to the attendants, if you still have some questions, you can pose them now. Maybe because this was the final thought you were talking about, Dror, the bioplanning. Are you actually implementing it somewhere already? Did you already convince a city to take on this take, so to speak?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So we're working right now on several projects. You know, it's just insane to realize, I mean, coming from the world of product design and interior and architecture, where, you know, projects can go from 12 months to 24 months to 36 months. When you're talking about those city expansions and new cities, those projects are so long. And they always start with long, you know, 60-page confidentiality agreements with various parties. So, yeah, unfortunately, I can't show you some of the projects that we're working on right now, but I can mention that we are working on a very important project in Eastern Europe. We're working on a very important projects in Mexico, the UAE, Israel, and I'm missing something. There's a world map next to me, so I keep track on where we're working. Oh, Morocco. Yes, Morocco. So yeah, and of course, you know, the goal is to expand this effort everywhere. One of the things, actually, I'm going to share something confidential that I have not shared yet publicly. We are actually starting to work on what we call national visions. So bringing the world best talent within each country that we are operating with and creating together with them national visions for their country. I'm totally excited about the fact that, hey, like let's take, for example, a place like Indonesia, right? That have like incredible designers, incredible local material, unbelievable biodiversity. Should we sit in New York, design projects for Indonesia? It doesn't make any sense. We should collaborate with all of those incredible talents there and create the vision for their country together with them. So, yeah, that's what we are.
Very cool. Very cool. Looking forward to the actual implementation. Maybe, well, for both of you, I think it was the first question, is biophilic design only for urban or spatial design? Is this also possible on a product design level? And they mention, e.g., in car design or what have you. I don't know. Who wants to take this? Nuria, do you want to take it?
I can take that. Thank you, Pascal. Yes, biophilic design it's started to be part of the built environment but we see that we can apply also biophilic design to many other type of designs, like fashion. We can see that in fashion. It's all related also with, if we're going very deep with the regenerative design. So when we're applying regenerative design, we can go much broader. We're talking about agriculture. We're talking about any type of design that we are implementing. So yes, it's very broad. Yeah.
Clear answer. Clear answer. Dror, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, we as designers and artists in general, always thinking about the human experience, right? And I think that sometimes it's just, in Nuria, I have to salute you for, opening an institution and really caring about educating for this, because at the end of the day, education is so important, right? Somebody in the audience in the next few years is going to remember a sentence that you said, and that consciousness is going to make him design something slightly different. So I would love to encourage, everybody, when they're designing, doesn't matter whether it's a product design or a dress or, any item, to really not just think about the sustainability aspect of it, but actually the ecological impact of it, which is kind of like a broader understanding. I mean, one of the things that architects, for instance, often forget is, yes, it's great to know how we're going to build this, but it's also important how we're going to break it, right? Like demolishing building is one of the worst things for the human health. I live between New York and Miami, and in Miami right now, there's a few buildings that are being demolished on the beach, and I run on the beach every morning. It's just crazy to realize how much debris and pollution goes into the air just by, knocking those buildings down. Like that should not be allowed. When we design something, we need to know how to build it and how to take it apart also.
Okay, cool. Now, Dror, you said I can't disclose some of the things we're working on, but a question to you and Nuria: what is the best example of biophilic design according to you that has been implemented? If you say to someone, I mean, we for sure have some people in the room who are in the audience who are not familiar at all with biophilic design. If they want to have a look at the best example, which one is it? Which one do we need to explore?
I have difficulties to answer that with one.
Okay.
The answer, because as Dror already said, we have so many. It depends on the every biophilic design project is applied to every region and every space. So they all have their own gorgeous things on biophilic design. I cannot say. I don't know, Dror.
Okay.
Help me on that. There are many good ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, I totally agree. And actually, not a single one comes to mind. But, I was always I've kind of abandoned product design for the last several years, and product design has been a big part of my world. And recently, I've been thinking a lot about designing some beautiful pots, right? Beautiful pots for plants. And I'm like, what can be better than designing homes for plants? Right. There's so many, amazing examples, and I'm so happy to see that it's becoming a movement, right? Like 5 years ago, when I used the term ecology, people were asking me, what do I mean? Today, nobody asks me anymore, what do I mean? Because
Yes.
But Dror, you touched upon it, because this is maybe the final question, and then we need to stop. It's a very straightforward and blunt question, but I also saw it in the chat, someone mentioning it. Does biophilic design cost more in your experience? You said no, it doesn't cost more, but there is the feeling that it's quite costly, right?
That's a very, very important question that you're asking. I have plants in my house, and I don't have a very good green thumbs. Some of them die sometimes, and I'm like, come on, I'm doing super nature. I can't even keep a plant alive. That's frustrating. So yes, it's sometimes more work. It could cost more. Sure, it's easier to, but we have to figure out all kinds of ways to make it possible, right? Because, Nuria gave some incredible examples on the impact, right? And some of those impact points that she mentioned are not so easy to measure, right? How do you measure the increase of productivity for people in offices if you have, vegetations all around? So let me ask you this. If you run an organization of 100 people, right, and if there is a study that shows that if you have that many plants in your environment, the productivity of your team can increase in 20%. How much that's worth it for you to hire somebody to make sure that those plants are properly, watered and so forth, and, that cost compared to the benefits to the organization? So those are things that I think today some of them are hard for us to measure, but it's our responsibilities as designers to know how to offset those things and to work on them in a clever way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nuria, you want to add
I would
something
like
to
to
that
add
as a
something
final
on
thought?
Yes. Well, first of all, as final thought, I want to follow what Dror said. This is a call to action. This is really a call to action. People move and start thinking in a biophilic design way. And regarding everything that I've shown about the benefits, we need a lot of research. There is a lot of research being done. And the more research we will have, it will show people, it will have like these science backed up figures that people will start seeing like, okay, yes, there are economical benefits, but there are so many other benefits at the end that we're going to thrive. And isn't it about that? So, yeah.
Okay, no, thank you. On that note, I would like to thank you, Nuria. I would like to thank you, Dror, for very inspiring thoughts, thought-provoking, really. And so let's repeat that call to action, and let's repeat that often. So I'm convinced at least. So thank you so much, and thank you to the audience. Thank you. See you. Bye.